Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of The Gray Area with Yvette, me. Um, this channel basically tries to take some things that are presented very black and white, as our society is very polarizing a lot of the times, but I do believe that you can find a healthy middle ground to pretty much all of that. So today's topic is on the subject of breakups and how to deal with breakups, what commonly people do, and what's something that you can do instead. So I picked this one because I was watching a little short from Sadiapsychology. She's like a very big psychology YouTuber influencer right now. She's got a lot of great things to say, honestly. But in this particular clip, I'm gonna play some of it, just the audio. In this particular clip, she gives some advice that, well, I agree with. I feel like we can find a more nuanced, balanced way of looking at it. So let's listen to her really quick.
The best way to heal from a breakup is take complete and utter accountability. Where people go wrong is they start Googling how their ex was a narcissist or how they were such a victim, and then they over-identify as a victim. And when you over-identify as a victim, you can't actually select better in the future. You'll still see yourself as somebody who is just used and abused, and you label yourself as that, and then therefore you can't actually heal. The better thing to do is think, this was entirely my fault, even if it wasn't. Yeah, sometimes we have terrible partners. Even if it wasn't,
All right, so I'm gonna pause it right there. There's a little bit left, but so that's what you saw, how she started off with taking the accountability, which is excellent. I do believe the victim mentality in any situation is never a helpful mentality. Even, I hate to say, even if you are a victim of something, like, it's okay to recognize that you were victimized, but to take on that victimization as being part of your identity and like identify with, oh, I am a victim now, that's only going to kind of keep you repressed and disempowered. I would say. So yes, taking that accountability. If you had a terrible partner, I totally agree. You're going to get farther with seeing what you could have done differently or what it was that caused you to be with that person than by being like, oh, they did this and this and this to me, and like there's nothing that I could do. Like, no, there's always something. Well, I don't want to say always, but there's usually something that you can do different moving forward, and that's how we learn and grow from relationships. So where she went a little far, she's like, just, it's all your fault. And I know that's a thing that I've seen actually a few people say, like, everything is always my fault. I follow a guy named Tom Bilyeu as well of Impact Theory, and he's like, everything is always my fault, because it's like that radical accountability. But to be honest, I don't think that's necessarily that helpful either. I mean, I think taking full accountability is better than taking no accountability. But I do believe that it's helpful to not only take accountability, but recognize it. If genuinely there were things in your partner, which likelihood, there's usually both sides had something to do with the breakup. There's usually not one hard villain. Sometimes there is. And I think in the case, if there is, like, your partner was literally terrible and was like beating you and stuff, then yes, that's very much a them. That's very much a them problem. You would take accountability in the sense of like, what led you to, like, did you love yourself enough to get away from that as soon as you saw the signs, or did you kind of ignore the red flags and stay in that situation? But the capacity to recognize when someone else is harming you, and the capacity to recognize when someone is treating you badly, and that, like, maybe they don't have your best interests at heart, you have to also, in addition to taking accountability to what you can do, it's going to be harder to grow if you're not actively sort of analyzing, okay, what did this person do too, so that you can avoid it in the future. So I believe that, yes, if they're at fault for something, acknowledge that they're at fault. If they did something, if they treated you shitty, acknowledge that they treated you shitty. And acknowledge that I can take accountability by paying attention to those things and not being with someone who is going to demonstrate these things again. That's how we learn red flags, is by seeing people perpetuate the red flags and having the discernment to notice, oh, okay, I am going to avoid, if I see this behavior in the future, I already know to avoid that type of person. All right, if I see this red flag perpetuated again. So yes, it's up to you to remove yourself from those situations, but it's also up to you to see the fault in both sides. Like, don't just look for fault in the other person. Like she was saying, they go and look at how their partner was narcissistic and this and that or the other. No, do be able to identify if your partner is narcissistic. Like, definitely educate yourself and look into that, but don't let that education of what they did wrong take away from you educating yourself about what you did wrong as well. So I think there's definitely room for both of those things to come together. Let's see what else she has to say.
Change it to, it was entirely my fault because I probably accepted unacceptable behavior, or I probably ignored some red flags, or I probably knew I couldn't handle this part of that personality and I still went forward. So you make it entirely your fault, and then you think, okay, how do I prevent this from happening in the future? Well, I'm going to prevent it by making sure I do X, Y, and Z. And then that way you'll be a little bit more confident going into dating. I think the best way to heal from a...
All right, so that's the end of the clip. So yeah, she basically was continuing to say, just make it completely your fault, and I can prevent it by doing this, which I agree with. But as we say, it's just, it doesn't need to be that black and white where it's completely your fault. So I think you can do both. I think you can have that accountability with yourself, and also you can call out others on their BS too. Why not both? Actually, that could be the other name of this channel. Why not both? But yeah, so this is a short one today. I feel like that was a quick and dirty guide to mentality of a breakup. Of course, everyone's gonna be a little bit different, but on that scale of accountability to victim mentality. But just keep an open mind. The more you're willing to look at yourself, I feel like the better you will do in life overall. The more you're willing to look at what you can do personally, because it's way easier to change yourself and the way you think and behave than to change somebody else. You're not going to change somebody else in the way that they think and behave, so it's kind of pointless to try unless they want to, but they still have to do it themselves. Yeah, so like, comment, subscribe if you have any topics or etc. Feel free to leave them below. Peace out.